Welcome to the Senior Scoop, where experience meets community. Hi, I'm Deborah Samuel.
And I'm Kelsey Samuel. We're your hosts, bringing you real stories, trusted advice, and expert tips for seniors and their families right here in beautiful Santa Barbara.
Now, let's meet the incredible team behind the scenes at SBSOS, making it all possible.
The Senior Scoop is proudly brought to you by SBSOS, Santa Barbara's support network for seniors. Visit sbsos.care or call us at 805-946-0060 to learn more.
Now, let's dive into this week's Senior Scoop. Well, welcome, Janice, to the Senior Podcast here at SBSOS Studios. I'm so excited to have you here today with me talking about all things escrow.
Absolutely. Love to be here. Thank you.
Well, thank you. When we first get started here, just give me a little background about yourself. How long have you been in this business?
A long time. You don't have that much time. Yeah. Well, I'll be going on 40 years in the industry this year, which I can't believe it, but it's gone by super fast. Had the pleasure of helping a lot of people in my career. Started back in '85 and have been in the title and escrow industry, a little bit of real estate mixed in there too. So it's been a long journey and I'm still going strong and happy to partner with you with your seniors.
Oh, well, this is exciting because we're going to be covering today some items that a lot of seniors have not sold a house in a long time. And so we're going to cover just some of the basics that may not have been a part of a house sale 40 years ago. So thank you for joining us here in the studio. So understanding the escrow process, there's a lot of things that, are part of the timeline, but also different steps. Let's just go through like step by step, the first parts of that process.
Well, the first step is usually you're going to introduce me to the seniors because they know that there's a process of selling a home. And part of that is escrow. And a lot of them have not sold in a long time. And what I love about working with you, Deborah, is that there's no surprises with your seniors. You introduce them to me in the beginning so they know who's going to be contacting them and who they're going to be working with, who they can trust, and who they're going to be talking to throughout the process, whether it's myself or my assistant or anybody on my team at Chicago Title.
Well, I know you have some wonderful team members that work with you behind the scenes. So tell us a little bit about your team there at Chicago Title.
Yes, great. I'm Chicago Title on Upper State Street, and I work within the Fidelity family. I have my title department with me. I have my sales team with me, and my assistant, Kim, who's right by there, knows everything about every file. So if you can't get a hold of me, you can talk to Kim. She really helps me out a lot.
Well, I know it takes a lot of people behind the scenes, and sometimes we don't realize when you talk about escrow, there's a lot of steps that are happening behind your doors too.
Right, right.
Well, let's talk about just some common challenges that may happen in the escrow process. There's some things that, sometimes, crop up that we're not expecting. So let's start with like trust and title issues.
Sure. Well, the first thing you're going to do is order the preliminary title report from me. And seniors may not even know what that is, but that is our title department doing their research to find out who owns the property, how they own the property, and how they're going to be deeding out, whether it be a trust or if they own it just as a husband and wife, whoever this person is. It could be a trustee of a trust. But the preliminary title report is something that you're going to order from me, and we're going to do our due diligence to see if there's any loans on the property. Maybe they have a reverse mortgage we're going to pay off. These things we need to know fairly early because there are steps that might take time to order a reverse mortgage. And we can talk more about the reverse process because I know you want to get on with that. Also, I want them to know that if they own the property in their trust, they actually need to have a bank account in that trust account. A lot of seniors don't have a bank account in the trust account, and we'll get to meet with them, and then they'll realize, oh, I don't have that. So it's something they need to do so that when we sell and close escrow, the money goes into that bank account.
We recently had a client that we're working with, and that exact question came up that she did not realize that she needed to have a separate account
Right.
set up in the name of the trust.
Right.
So that preliminary meeting that we had at your office,
Yes.
asking those questions, definitely alerted her that she needed to have that account set
Yeah,
up.
that's the number one priority, is making sure that when we close escrow, that money goes into the right bank account.
Yeah,
And we
absolutely.
verify everything.
Yes.
So we make sure everything's safe and secure. And the other thing I love to do is handhold them and let them know that the paperwork is not as daunting as they might think. And if they choose not to do DocuSign, some of them are very savvy and techie. They have time on their hands and they like to get on the computer, but we like to make sure that everything's safe. And I love meeting with the seniors. I love hand-holding them with the paperwork. And I just want to make them know that this is something that we can get done fairly simply.
Well, I know as a senior realtor, I really appreciate that because at the very beginning of this process, I'll always send you an email and I'll say, hey, Janice, this client is really good with email. They do not text, but they really prefer a phone call. So
Right.
sometimes, it makes it easier when you just pick up the phone and just have a phone conversation.
And I'm always happy to do that. I love talking to seniors.
Yeah. Well, let's talk a little bit about proof of ownership. If the homeowner, maybe is not sure who's on title, what would be something important to clarify at the very beginning of the process when selling the house? Maybe if a spouse has passed away.
Exactly. A lot of times they're overwhelmed. They've lost a spouse. And this is just a process that now they're going to sell the home and maybe move and downsize a little bit. And most of the time when that happens, the husband and wife will still be the active trustees. And the attorneys haven't recorded anything. And that's my job, is to research it and get a copy of the trust and see who the successor trustee. Now, if both are passed, we definitely want to see who the successor trustees are, because it could be your clients are the kids. There's 4 siblings that are all successor trustees. And so I need to know all that up front, copy of the trust. Now, if one spouse has died and one is actively acting as the trustee and is of sound mind and has the capacity to sell, then I would prepare an affidavit, death of trustee, and we would need a certified copy of an original death certificate of the deceased spouse. So these are the steps that we do to make sure that we pass clear title to the buyer.
Yeah, that has come up before
Yes, it
too,
has.
where people come in with a copy of the death certificate, and it actually has to be a formal, official,
Certified copy of an
certified copy.
original.
Yes,
Because I prepare the affidavit, attach that, and then it records to clear title to the buyer when we record the grant deed. So yeah, these are a step. And then the original will go right back to the seller.
Right. And then let's touch a little bit on what if one of the sellers maybe has some cognitive decline and they say, I don't want my husband to sign, or I don't want my wife to sign because she's not doing so well. What happens then?
Well, every situation is different. And one thing I do know, for being in this business as long as I have, title does require, now I'm escrow, remember, I'm just escrow. I have to run everything by title. Title does require that if sellers are competent and they can physically and mentally sign the documents, that they should, and they will want them to. It's not just a matter of inconvenience, that I'm too busy or one's traveling. They really need to sign the documents. Now, if one is incapacitated, has some memory issues, and a doctor feels that they shouldn't be doing this or making these decisions, or will know what they're signing, then we'll need doctor's letters, and title will advise what exactly they need. And then we will have the other trustee sign all the paperwork. But again, every situation's different. And we have to relay that to title, and they advise me, and I advise you.
Well, Janice, this is really important information, and that's why we're doing this podcast today, especially for seniors, with giving them some of this information. Let's talk a little bit about power of attorneys, because sometimes I've had clients selling a home and they say, well, my power of attorney is going to take care of all this.
Yeah. We know that doesn't work now, don't we?
Yes.
Yes, a lot of times, and again, every situation is different, but trusts, if they are in a trust, most trusts do not allow for the usage of a power of attorney. There has to be specific verbiage within that trust. So that's something we need to find out. In some cases it works, but most trusts do not allow for power of attorneys.
So you would need a copy of that
Yes.
trust to review that language.
And any amendments to the trust. We had a deal the other day where there was an amendment to a trust where it had been assigned to the son. And we had never gotten that amendment. So we found that out later. So we had to adjust it. Now the son is signing for everything. They're still alive, they're still competent, but they amended their trust, so their son signed everything for them.
All right. So all kinds of different scenarios that can happen as we go through this process. Well, sometimes clients that I have moved to a senior campus, and maybe they're no longer driving anymore. Let's talk a little bit about your fantastic mobile signing service.
Yes,
and
I
how
have a few options. So we've talked about that. My go-to notary, Ellen Richardson's been with me for probably 15 years, doing my signings, meeting people at all the different assisted living facilities. She does my signings in office for some situations, but I like to meet with my sellers in office if they're able and willing to come meet with me. I love that part of it. But I do have Ellen that is happy to go. During the pandemic, she was going to all my assisted living facilities with her mask on and doing all the protocol to go in and make sure that everything's signed correctly. And then she brings the documents right back to me. It's all very secure. She knows what she's doing. She knows my paperwork.
Well, another thing that sometimes comes up is the type of identification needed at escrow. You have to have some different forms. Let's talk a little bit about that, because we've had instances where people, maybe they're not driving anymore and that driver's license has actually expired.
Yes.
So what are the options there?
There are options. Typical notary would know what the options are. I've had signings that are happening where Ellen was at an assisted living facility and 2 sellers were there and one had an expired license, and they had to get the 2 credible witnesses, which is something that, a notary needs to do. But it is important to have a valid ID, whether it be a passport or a driver's license. So that's something to think about and have in an early conversation.
Well, I'm glad that we're covering that, because I know we've run across that several times in escrow closings. Something that is always brought up to me is, security and fraud. Seniors are always very concerned. We're talking about millions of dollars on the sale of a home. Let's talk about some of the things that you're seeing with senior fraud.
Senior fraud. Well, there's more fraud on buyers, I'll be honest with you. The fraudsters out there are looking for deposits. They're looking for funds to close. With the seniors, the paperwork that we do and the bank account information that we do, we verify it and triple verify everything before we wire. We're happy to cut a check, but then that just means they have to go to the bank, which some of them aren't doing anymore. So we do everything we can, due diligence, to make sure that the bank account is secure, that the information we get is secure. If Ellen meets with somebody, then I will call and triple verify the account numbers are right. Sometimes they'll have an investment account that's a Schwab or a Fidelity investment account, and that takes a little bit more because I need to be connected with their Schwab person. So I need to be introduced directly to their financial person so that I can get directly via secure email the wire instructions for that bank account.
Well, I'm so glad that you're bringing this up, because we have a variety of situations where a seller may want to deposit their money in a variety, like a Schwab, or maybe it's going into their trust account.
Right.
And then after that, they can transfer it wherever they like.
Right.
But let's talk about, seniors sometimes when we work with out-of-state clients, which we have done many, where the seller has moved out of state. Maybe they've relocated to live with their family, and I'm selling their home back here in Santa Barbara. How would that work when a senior's, say, living in Georgia or Texas already?
Right. We have a national notary company called BankServe, and it's all over the United States. Wherever there is signers, there are notaries, and we will find them. It's a cost that we pay through escrow, through the seller proceeds. And I go online and I upload the documents that need to be signed by the seniors, and the notary prints them out, meets with them. I include a FedEx label. It's all very secure. The notaries are fully vetted. They know what they're doing, and they FedEx the documents back to me. So another great service that we provide as part of our services.
So 10 o'clock the next morning, if FedEx is on time.
It's arriving.
It's arriving.
Yes.
We love that. Well, let's talk about 3 of your final tips, top 3 things for a seller to start thinking about when we're going through the escrow process, like the top 3 things.
Top 3 things. Well, we brought it up today. The new thing that I think we need to verify the trust and the bank account. So first of all, how do they hold title? The next thing is if they have any current mortgages. we need the bank account information for, say, a reverse mortgage, because sometimes we're ordering those and they take a little bit longer than a normal payoff. If it's a Wells Fargo payoff, I can have it within 20 minutes. I order it on the phone. If it's a reverse mortgage company, that can take 5 to 7 business days at times. So if we have a quick timeline, a copy of the mortgage statement is always a great thing to have. So trust information, payoff information, and then I think really, first off, I need to get to know these people and have a conversation with them. And I want to know what their expectations are of me. And I want to know if they have any fears, if they have any questions up front. So communication is number one and key. When we open escrow, I want to be connected with those people right away so that they know exactly what's going to happen.
Well, that's why Janice Bowie here with Chicago Title is with me at the Senior Scoop today doing this great podcast. So we can share this with seniors and they can learn a little bit before they actually meet you in the office. So I want to thank you for your time coming down to the studios today. And it's always so lovely to do business with you. But before I let you go, I know you'd like to share a story about just some of the anxiety sometimes with your personal grandparents. You watched from the sidelines your parents going through this. So
I'd love to. I feel very honored to be partnering with you in this because I have been very, very fortunate and blessed in Santa Barbara to grow up here. And, generational, grew up with my parents, grandparents, and just recently within the last, I'd say 5-6 years, I guess it was, our family had, both my grandmothers needed to sell their homes right around the same time. They both had reverse mortgages. They needed to go into assisted living. They fought tooth and nail, didn't want to leave their homes, but they needed to, and it was time. And they went to the same facility, and my husband and I were able to visit with them on Sundays and go see them both at the same time for a few years before they actually both passed around the same time. But we were watching what my mom and my aunts and uncles, my mom and dad, the whole family, and the process that it took to empty out the homes and the emotional, the emotions that everybody had to go through, watching them do the process and getting them moved and getting them set up into their assisted living where they, ended their lives and comfortably, but them leaving their homes was a big deal for everybody, and saying goodbye to those homes was a very big deal for all of us and very emotional. And had I known you back then, you would have been involved for sure. And I just feel that this is kind of my calling because I do love seniors, and I was very fortunate to have my grandparents, all of them, around for a very long time.
Well, thank you, Janice. And it is a pleasure with my co-company, SBSOS, and Kelsey Samuel, with this entire process of helping seniors A to Z with getting through the process of moving through a house, downsizing, estate sales, and then the eventual sale of the property. It's a true privilege and honor to be in this community.
I love working with you too.
All right. Well, again, this is Janice Bowie with Chicago Title, and we'll see you next time on the Senior Scoop, where I'll be interviewing John McCuskey with Prosperity Mortgage, talking about more options that seniors may want to explore when selling a home. We'll see you later.